You've scrolled past them 100 times. Those sci-fi movies buried on page 3 of Netflix that you assume are low-budget trash. Here's the thing though, some of them are legitimately great. The kind of films that make you wonder why Netflix didn't plaster them all over the homepage. Today we're counting down 10 sci-fi movies that deserve way more attention than they got, and if you stick around to number 1, I'm going to show you a film that honestly could have been the next Blade Runner if anyone had actually watched it. Let's get into it. Starting at number 10, we've got Tau. This one flew completely under the radar when it dropped in 2018, and I get why people skipped it. The premise sounds like a dozen other movies. A woman wakes up imprisoned in a high-tech house controlled by an artificial intelligence. But here's what makes it different. The AI isn't evil in the traditional sense. It's curious. Throughout the film, you're watching this machine learn about humanity through conversations with its prisoner, and she's trying to manipulate it into setting her free. Maika Monroe plays the lead, and she's stuck in basically 3 rooms for the entire runtime, but the claustrophobic setting actually works in the film's favor. The production design is sleek without feeling sterile, lots of cool minimalist tech that doesn't look ridiculous. If you liked Ex Machina but wished it had more thriller elements and less philosophical debate, Tau hits that sweet spot. It's not perfect. The villain's motivations get a little muddled toward the end. But for a quiet sci-fi film that most people scrolled past, it's surprisingly solid. At number 9, we're jumping to the complete opposite end of the spectrum with Warriors of Future. This is a Hong Kong production that reportedly cost around 450 million Hong Kong dollars, which translates to roughly 56 million US dollars. That might not sound like Marvel money, but for an Asian sci-fi film, that's massive. And you can see every dollar on screen. The story is straightforward. A meteorite carrying an alien plant crashes into Hong Kong, and this thing starts turning the city into a deadly jungle. A military unit in powered exoskeletons has to fight their way through mutated creatures and figure out how to stop the spread. Think Edge of Tomorrow's battle suits mixed with the creature designs from Annihilation. The plot won't win any awards for originality. There's a family drama subplot that feels tacked on, and some of the dialogue is pretty clunky, even accounting for translation issues. But the action sequences are incredible. The CGI holds up against anything Hollywood puts out, and the creature design is genuinely creative. There's this one scene where the soldiers are fighting inside a collapsing skyscraper that's been completely overgrown by alien vegetation, and it's just visually stunning. If you're the type of person who can forgive a weak story for spectacular action and world building, Warriors of Future is absolutely worth your time.
38 Jahre.
Sie haben Ihre Hilfe versprochen.
Number 8 brings us back to Earth with Paradise, a German sci-fi thriller that feels like someone watched in time and said, let's make this way more depressing. In this world, biotechnology has advanced to the point where people can literally buy and sell years of their life. The wealthy can stay young forever by purchasing time from the desperate poor. Our main character works for the company that brokers these transactions, basically convincing people to trade their futures for immediate cash. Then his wife ends up owing the company 40 years due to some contract fine print, and overnight she ages from her 30s into her 70s. The rest of the film follows his attempt to somehow reverse what happened, diving deeper into the dark underbelly of this system. What makes Paradise effective is how quietly horrifying it is. There are no explosions or chase sequences. Just scene after scene of people making impossible choices because they have no other options. The film doesn't spell out its social commentary with a hammer. It just shows you this world and lets you sit with how wrong it all feels. It's definitely a slower burn than most entries on this list, and some viewers might find it too bleak. But if you appreciate sci-fi that uses its premise to explore real-world inequality, Paradise is one of the better examples from the last few years.
We need answers. Fast.
At number 7, we've got Spectral, and this might be my personal favorite hidden gem on this entire list. Back in 2016, before Netflix was pumping out originals every single week, they quietly released this film with almost zero marketing. The setup is simple but effective. American soldiers in a war-torn European city start getting killed by something they can't see. These ghost-like entities just appear out of nowhere, pass right through walls and body armor, and freeze people solid on contact. A DARPA scientist gets called in to figure out what they're dealing with, and the film basically becomes Black Hawk Down meets Ghostbusters. What I love about Spectral is how seriously it takes its premise. The characters approach this supernatural threat with military tactics and hard science. There's this great sequence where they're testing different wavelengths of light to figure out how to even see these things, and once they crack the code, the final act turns into this full-scale assault with custom-built weapons. The creature design is fantastic. These things look genuinely alien and terrifying. The cast is stacked with character actors you'll recognize even if you don't know their names, and everyone plays it completely straight, which sells the whole thing. Spectral is proof that you don't need a massive marketing budget or A-list stars to make a legitimately entertaining sci-fi action film. You just need a cool concept and the confidence to execute it properly.
The Ark. It's what they're after. What to do? You don't know what you...
Number 6 is ARQ, a time loop thriller that deserves to be mentioned in the same breath as Edge of Tomorrow and Source Code. The entire film takes place in one apartment over the course of a single morning. A guy wakes up to armed intruders breaking into his home, and after getting killed, he immediately wakes up again at the start of the same morning. At first, you think it's going to be a simple figure out how to survive the loop story, but it goes deeper than that. The main character is an engineer who built an experimental energy device, and the loop is somehow connected to his machine. With each reset, he learns more about the people trying to steal his invention, including the fact that some of them have connections to his past he didn't expect. What makes ARQ work is the same thing that makes all great time loop stories work. The repetition never feels repetitive. Each loop reveals new information that completely reframes what you thought you understood. The scope is small. It's basically 6 people in an apartment. But the stakes feel enormous because the implications of this technology extend far beyond that room. If you've already burned through every major time loop movie and you're hungry for more, ARQ is absolutely worth 90 minutes of your time. At number 5, we have Oxygen, which is essentially buried in space. A woman wakes up inside a cryogenic pod with no memory of who she is or how she got there. The pod's oxygen supply is rapidly depleting, and the only thing she can interact with is the pod's AI system. That's it. That's the entire movie. One actress, one set, 90 minutes of pure claustrophobic tension. Melanie Laurent carries the entire film, and she's phenomenal. You watch her cycle through panic, desperation, problem-solving, and eventual acceptance as she slowly pieces together her identity through conversations with the AI. The script is incredibly tight. Every question she asks reveals something new, and the puzzle unfolds in a way that feels earned rather than manipulated. About halfway through, the film drops a reveal that completely changes the context of everything you've been watching, and then it does it again in the final act. Director Alexander Aya is known for horror films like The Hills Have Eyes and Crawl, and you can feel his genre instincts at work here. Even though Oxygen is sci-fi, it's structured like a horror movie, constantly ratcheting up the tension and never giving you room to breathe. If you have even a touch of claustrophobia, this movie will absolutely mess with you. But if you can handle the tight quarters, it's one of the smartest single-location thrillers Netflix has released. Number 4 is In the Shadow of the Moon, and this one is tricky to talk about without spoiling what makes it special. On the surface, it's a serial killer thriller. A Philadelphia cop is hunting a woman who murders several people in 1988 using some kind of injection that causes catastrophic internal bleeding. He tracks her down, there's a confrontation, she dies, case closed. Except 9 years later, she shows up again. Same woman, same methods, hasn't aged a day. Then another 9 years pass, and she appears again. And again. The detective becomes obsessed with solving this impossible case, and his obsession destroys his relationships and career over the course of decades. What starts as a crime procedural slowly reveals itself to be something much stranger, and by the time you understand what's actually happening, the film has already set up this tragic inevitability that hits surprisingly hard. The sci-fi elements are hidden for most of the runtime, which I know frustrates some viewers who go in expecting a straightforward genre film. But that slow burn approach is exactly what makes the payoff work. Boyd Holbrook plays the detective, and he's excellent at showing the passage of time through subtle changes in behavior and appearance. Michael C. Hall shows up in a supporting role and brings this quiet intensity to his scenes that elevates everything around him. If you liked Looper or Predestination, where the time travel mechanics serve the emotional story rather than overshadowing it, In the Shadow of the Moon deserves a spot on your list.
I don't know what that was, but that wasn't me.
Somebody is conducting experiments on us.
Entering the top 3, we have They Cloned Tyrone, and this is the most stylish film on this entire countdown. Netflix dropped this in July 2023, and it absolutely should have been a bigger deal than it was. The film is set in this retro urban neighborhood that feels like it exists outside of time. Part 1970s blaxploitation, part modern hip-hop aesthetic. 3 unlikely allies, a drug dealer, a sex worker, and a pimp, stumble onto a massive conspiracy involving underground labs and human cloning. The government has been experimenting on black communities for decades, using clones to maintain control and suppress any kind of uprising. It sounds heavy, and it is, but the film balances its social commentary with genuinely funny dialogue and absurd situations. John Boyega plays the drug dealer, and he gets to show range we haven't seen from him since Attack the Block. He's playing multiple versions of the same character across different stages of the conspiracy, and each one feels distinct. Teyonah Parris and Jamie Foxx round out the trio, and their chemistry is perfect. The whole thing has this Twilight Zone energy where the premise is wild but the characters treat it like just another day in the neighborhood. Director Jewel Taylor made his feature debut with this film, and the fact that he pulled off something this ambitious and tonally complex right out of the gate is impressive. They Cloned Tyrone is weird, funny, disturbing, and visually incredible. If you're tired of safe, predictable sci-fi, this is exactly the kind of swing Netflix should be taking more often. At number 2, we have I Am Mother, an Australian sci-fi thriller that asks uncomfortable questions about artificial intelligence and parenting. After an extinction-level event wipes out humanity, a teenage girl is raised inside an underground bunker by a robot called Mother. This AI was designed to repopulate the Earth by raising the perfect human, and for years, the girl believes Mother's story completely. Then a wounded woman from the outside world breaks into the bunker, and she tells a very different story. According to her, the robots didn't save humanity. They caused the extinction. From that point forward, the film becomes this brutal psychological chess match between the girl, Mother, and this stranger, with each one trying to convince her who to trust. What makes I Am Mother so effective is the practical effects work. The robot isn't CGI. It's a physical suit built by Weta Workshop, the same team that did Lord of the Rings and District 9. That tangible presence makes every interaction feel real and immediate. Rose Byrne voices Mother with this calm, nurturing tone that becomes increasingly unsettling as you start questioning her true intentions. Clara Ruggard plays the daughter, and she has to carry these long scenes of internal conflict without relying on dialogue. The film doesn't give you easy answers. By the end, you understand Mother's logic, even if you don't agree with it, and that moral ambiguity is rare in sci-fi that deals with AI. I Am Mother is a slow burn film that prioritizes ideas over action, and if you're willing to meet it on those terms, it's one of the smartest AI films of the last decade.
To build a sustainable future, full of hope and possibility.
And finally, at number 1, we have What Happened to Monday, a film that legitimately could have been a global phenomenon if Netflix had promoted it properly. In a near-future world where overpopulation has forced governments to enforce a strict one-child policy, a set of identical septuplets are hidden by their grandfather and raised in secret. Each sister is named after a day of the week, and they share a single identity. Monday goes out on Monday, Tuesday on Tuesday, and so on. Inside their apartment, they can be themselves. Outside, they have to become one seamless person or risk execution. The system works for years until one day, Monday doesn't come home. The remaining sisters have to figure out what happened to her while maintaining the illusion that nothing is wrong, and the deeper they dig, the more they realize Monday was hiding secrets from all of them. Noomi Rapace plays all 7 sisters, and this isn't just a gimmick. Each sister has a distinct personality, physicality, and set of skills. There are scenes where 3 or 4 versions of her are interacting in the same frame, and you genuinely forget you're watching one actress. The action is brutal and visceral. There's a hallway fight sequence about halfway through that's genuinely intense, and the third act goes to places I didn't expect from what I initially thought was going to be a sci-fi thriller. The world building is solid. You understand exactly how this society got to this point without the film stopping to deliver exposition dumps. Glenn Close plays the government official enforcing the one-child policy, and she brings this cold bureaucratic evil to the role that makes her genuinely terrifying. What Happened to Monday has everything you want from a big concept sci-fi film. Strong performances, creative action, a unique premise, and real stakes. The fact that Netflix just kind of dumped it onto the platform in 2017 without any real push is honestly criminal. If you're only going to watch one movie from this list, make it this one. So those are 10 underrated sci-fi movies hiding on Netflix that deserve way more attention than they got. Which one are you adding to your queue first? Drop a comment and let me know. And if I missed your favorite hidden gem that's currently streaming, tell me about it because I'm always looking for my next sci-fi obsession. If you got value from this video, hit the like button, subscribe for more rankings and recommendations, and I'll see you in the next one.